Hey guys, it's Twig from the Mulligan. I'm just back from my first Modern Masters draft. Had a fair bit of success there, so drafted this Selesnya style deck. So just let me know in the comments below, guys, if you'd be interested in seeing that deck before I pull it apart. Otherwise, let's get straight into this Aether Revolt Booster Tutor. So, as I was saying, had a lot of fun with the Modern Masters draft. It's definitely a set that's designed to be drafted, so pretty good set to draft, guys. Alright, our first card off the top there is a Dawnfeather Eagle. So it's a 3/3 for 5, 4 colourless and a white, has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. So quality card there, guys. This is a first pick a lot of the time, especially in white. Has evasion with that flying, and if you're playing any kind of sort of weenie strategy, or even just a mid-range one, vigilance and +1/+1 is just fantastic. Great with the other flyers in white as well. So our next card is Emerald Gear Smasher. He's a 2/3 for 3, 2 colourless and a red. Has tap, sacrifice an artifact, deals 2 damage to each opponent. So not a bad card there in those multi-man games, I guess, in that it's going to deal you more damage versus the amount of players you're playing against. Probably wouldn't be a first pick, but it's not a bad card to pick up late, especially if you're in like the improvised strategy and red. You can sort of get rid of some of those artifacts after you've gotten your use out of them just to close out the game. So don't write this card off, but definitely not a first pick. Next up is Aether Swooper. So he's a 2-drop, colourless and a blue for a 1/2, has flying, and when he enters the battlefield he generates 2 energy, and when he attacks you may pay 2 energy if you do get a 1/1 colourless servo artifact creature token. So great card there in that you'll be able to attack with him because he's got flying, so sort of likely that you're not going to come up against other flyers, at least not immediately, so you're going to get that servo generated there. I've had this card used a fair bit against me in draft with a sort of varying amount of success. I've tried to play it myself and hadn't had much luck, but it's definitely a quality card in the amount of times I've seen it picked up and used just to generate those little 1/1s. Now next up, this is sort of a personal favourite for me out of the Aether Revolt set. It's Unbridled Growth, and for a green you get Enchant Land. Enchanted Land has tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool, sacrifice it, draw a card. So this is a great turn 1 play, guys. I've been trying to draft more 3-colour decks, and this just sort of enables that strategy. If you can pick up anywhere up to the amount of 3 or 4 of these, you can easily or sort of more comfortably play those 3 colours. And then once you've sort of sorted your mana base out, you can sacrifice it and start digging through your deck for more of your answers. So definitely a card worth looking at there, guys. Next up, we've got 4th Bridge Patrol. He's a 1/1 for a black. When he enters the battlefield, you may have target creature get -1/-1 until end of turn. So great for cleaning up servos, great for cleaning up you know, all those sort of weenie creatures, but also great main phase 2 for getting a little extra damage in if you haven't quite managed to wipe out your opponent's creature. So you made a bad trade with the 3/4 against a 4/4, their creature's still alive, they've knocked your creature out, you can cast this main phase 2, give that creature that's already got 3 damage on it another -1/-1, boom, it's dead as well. So definitely interesting ways you can play this card. Probably wouldn't be a first pick though. Next up we've got Lifecraft Cavalry. So he's a 5-drop for a 4/4, has trample, and he enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it if a permanent left the battlefield this turn. So great in the Revolt or +1/+1 counters deck. A 6/6 trampler for 6 is just fantastic. You're just going to get so much damage in with this. You're also able to enhance it beyond this with like the siege modifications or any of those other sort of cards. This card is just going to get out of control. It's a little hard to cast being 6, it's going to come in very late, so you're going to need a strategy to support this, but very good card there. Next up we've got Filigree Crawler. He's a 4/4 for, he's a 2/2 for 4. When he dies, create a 1/1 colour stop the artifact creature token with flying. So the thing worth remembering with this card, and it was probably something I brushed past when the set first came out, this gives you a Thopter, not a servo. So that 1/1 flyer makes all the difference in the world over the 1/1 sort of walker. Great card for Improvise. Probably a little costly and wouldn't be a first pick, but The fact that it just keeps artifacts on the field is fantastic. Any of the sort of enter the battlefield effects that relate to artifacts, also great. Definitely worth keeping an eye on if you're getting into artifacts. The next up, we've got Ice Over. It's a 2-drop enchantment, colourless and a blue. Enchant artifact or creature, so definitely worth noting there you don't have to dump this on a creature. If there's an artifact that's got a tap ability, it's got a bit of utility in it that it can go on to that. Enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So the first thing that's worth noting on this, and I made the mistake when I first drafted it, it doesn't tap the creature for you as well. So you either need to use this in main phase 2 to tap down something, or sorry, you need to use this in your turn after they've declared an attacker to keep that attacker tapped down, or you need to sort of put it on a creature preemptively, but that's going to give them the option and let them really think about whether they want to tap that creature or not. So just remember guys, this doesn't tap it for you, but it's going to lock the creature down. Next up, we've got Implement of Combustion. So really hard to go past these implements at the moment guys, they're just fantastic revolt triggers. This one's a 1-drop, has pay red, sacrifice that deals 1 damage to target player, and it's also got that draw a card built in there, so just great for revolt. Even if you're not sort of in red, if you want to be like green-black, might be worth splashing to get that extra damage off, get your revolt trigger, and get a card all for 1. So next up, our first uncommon is Hidden Herbalist. It's a 2-drop, colourless and a green, has revolt. When it enters the battlefield, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, add 2 green mana. It's a 2/2 as well, so you can sort of cast this card in a sense for free if you've had like maybe an implement leave the battlefield this turn, but you really want to be able to use that green mana straight away. So it's probably not a great pick. If you're playing something that works off of enter the battlefield triggers, especially on other creatures, it might be worth throwing this in, but I wouldn't be picking this one straight away guys. Next up, we've got Outland Boar. So he's a 4/4 for 4, 2 colourless, a red and a green, and he can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So this might be a quality sideboard card, guys. Great coming up against those sort of weenie decks. Probably wouldn't be looking at grabbing this one straight away, but definitely keeping an eye on it. You can sort of combo it with something like your Annie's Expertise to make all their stuff smaller, cast this out, and then they won't be able to block that 4 damage, but it's probably not going to work quite as well as you'd hope. And next uncommon is Consulate Dreadnought. So it's a 1-drop with Crew 6 and it's a 7/11. Now this card's great if you're building vehicles and you want those modifications on here. It's crewed all the time. Get in with a 7/11 First Striker or a 7/11 Flyer. Just fantastic stats. But you've got to remember guys that vehicles slot into any deck. They are colourless, so drafting a vehicles deck is going to be pretty hard. Any quality vehicles that go around are immediately going to be scooped up by your opponents just to splash in their other decks, but not a bad card at all. And our rare for this pack is Baral's Expertise. So it's a 5-drop, 3 colourless and 2 blue. Return up to 3 target artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hands. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand. So the thing to remember, or I guess the interesting interaction you can have with Baral's Expertise is that you can return your own stuff to your hand as well. So say you return something that does cost 4 or less and you want those end of the battlefield triggers, you can go right ahead with Baral's Expertise, quality card. As always, you can target your opponent's stuff, but it happens at sorcery speed. That's what's worth noting here guys. Great card for slowing down your opponent, which is especially important in blue. They need a bit of setup time, so quality card there for blue guys. And our foil for this pack is just a Swamp.
And my pick for this pack is going to be Dawn Feather Eagle. Now it's really hard to beat a 3/3 flyer. Really hard to beat a 3/3 flyer that's going to give all your creatures +1/+1 and vigilance until end of turn. This really helps sort out some of those stalemate matches. Lets you get in with your creatures while still keeping them on defense. Don't forget about that vigilance trigger, and they all get buffed. So usually when you're locked in that stalemate, it's because you've got similar strength creatures. This lets you get over the top, get the edge, and get the win. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.